Raised by parents, raised by your parent. Now, I don't know. I mean, look, some people have been pretty well endowed, quite well. I mean, it goes through the generations, like it's kind of like a domino effect, right? Some people have been raised so well that they grew up well, and then they were able to pass on a wellness to get children, and then they basically they streamline that information into their children, and they carry on the legacy, right? Now, if you've been unfortunate enough to be raised by a child, okay, so you got somebody, you come into the world, right? You're looking up, right? They smack you in the bum, you cry, right? And there you are, right? As time goes on, as you enter into the development, develop is like a film, right? As you're being developed, you're hoping. I mean, I say you're hoping. The hope of the fact of your legacy as it's passed through you is that you are going to be entering into a state of wellness. You can't have wellness if you've been raised by a child. A child cannot teach you any otherwise than what they have come to. That's going to be your legacy. Your legacy basically will be a leg to stand on, right? And when you got to stand on your two legs instead of being supported all of your life, you gonna learn things the hard way. And you're not gonna learn things the way it should have been taught. You're gonna learn it through difficult experiences, and that's just the way it goes. It's not God's fault. As a matter of fact, God has endowed our world. The Bible says that this magnanimous faith, that this goodness, this wholesomeness that comes from God has come upon all, but it will only come to those who believe, right? People can't go as far as believing in the full wholeness of God if they're believing other things, belief systems. And throughout the history in family lines, raised by a child, okay, a parent, which that's a title you give them. So you're going to say mom or dad, right? Without you even thinking twice about it, or without even having the eyes to have wide open, you are looking at a child. And as you kind of go a few inches above from what they have stopped becoming, you are going to have some serious issues with them. And they're not going to like seeing you become a different type of person than what and who they've been used to. And that's just the way it is. To buck this kind of situation is like getting on a horse and the horse bucks you right off. Is that you're going to have to learn to ride your life on a different wind, on a different set of communication. And a lot of times it's going to involve you entering into the stage of separation and detachment. It cannot but happen, right? And all the things that are going to be involved in breaking you and changing you into a different, when I'm changing into being me, a different type of development, it's that you are going to have to become your own parent. And now that's impossible, right? That is really impossible. And you're going to learn from all the outside sources. Now here's the bad of it all. A child cannot teach you to stand up for yourself. A child cannot give you a backbone. A child cannot teach you value. Because at some point when that parent can't grow anymore and they basically is like a 12-year-old brought you into the world, they can't relate to life as an adult. And a lot of what they have been given, see, the interesting thing about the way it goes in life is that people do find a certain comfort zone in their development, right? So they don't need to go further. I mean, look, a parent can go and work and da da da, and they can even live off their children, or they can have a certain amount of legacy passed through the family, like an inheritance. So they're not forced to grow. Now, the thing is what a child will do, because the child only knows me, mine, and what is mine. You are in many respects, though, although you've been birthed and you're with them, you're really, in a lot of ways, you're going to discover and learn this the hard way, that you're trespassing on certain freedoms that they have. And they're not going to willingly just give over what is rightfully theirs. Parents who are children have learned to steal from their children. Okay, now they'll force you, and they will they will speak in a manner to you to make you feel like absolute crap. Okay, and they will believe they're doing the right thing, that you are never ever good enough. And the way they're going to make it be is they're going to make you push for success with the wrong motivation. And what happens with all of that? It's kind of like taking something and throwing it out there and having it come back and smack you in the face. When you put out your motivation to become successful because you want to become better, developed, you learn, you see the bigger world says, hey, this little world that I've known with my parent child, it's not the real world. It's not the big picture. So I want that. I see people out there having their freedom. Now, getting back to your parent child becomes settled in their comfort. As long as they have it well, as long as they give it so much, as long as they've learned in that adult body how to manipulate the environment to give them what they want, that's all. Hey, that's as far as they're going to go, right? As long as a parent child can have a nice house, they can have everything working out. They can have, I mean, the government steps into and the government helps them. And then they get to be old age, and then they have the old age pension. And so they're basically settled. They don't really have to go too far. But the thing is that what happens with them throughout their history is that they gonna be developed into a malnourished and a maladjusted human being. Because at some point, even though that body has been growing up, that brain is so crippled in so many ways, it will cause a further crippling to them as they get older. See, time is not their best friend, right? Now you come along, and the thing is, you're learning how to be developed. And what parent child will do, it is structural integrity for them to pit the children against each other, to cause the children to hate and treat each other with a certain amount of indignity, right? And the only reason why they're doing that is because they really don't want you to have they don't want you to have, okay? Because they have never had it. And here you are, you're getting it, and they kind of like, they got to adjust and go, hey, wait a second. This is my child. And by the way, this is nothing you'll know you've been raised by a parent child. They'll never see you as a grown up adult. They'll still call you baby. No, some people say, well, that's so endearing. No, when it starts to get to the point it's actually serious, and they're actually addressing you as a baby, and they see you as some disabled person in front of them, you're gonna, as long as you're communicating with them, you're gonna act that out. You will. You will inevitably, you will not eventually, you will inevitably act it out. And it's kind of a haunt, because it's a bit of a catch-22. Is that you're really kind of helpless in this, that the parent child, as long as they're interacting with you, as long as you're interacting with them, they're going to keep a certain kind of information that you have to always have with you. And that is, you are not never going to become more grown up than them. I see, getting back to the old slapping in the face, they will teach you to hate success. They will teach you to hate going forward. And you will find yourself literally sabotaging and even despising the very things that are good for you by tiny little behaviors. And you're going to wonder why you're doing it. And the reason is because of that parent child. I'm not talking about the child who's a parent anymore. I'm talking about the parent child relationship, the hook, the umbilical cord. You know, I've heard stories that the only time that people really found their lives starting to go forward was after the parent died. And it's a really sad commentary on what has to happen. And nobody really wants to go cutting their parents off. It hurts. It hurts. And you know what makes you forgive them is because you're dealing with something that is like in the emergency ward in the hospital, and they don't know it, but the specialist will say this person is needs a lot of help. A lot of operations need to happen to bring them to normal. And that's why you can forgive them, because you're dealing with something that is simply in their nature to do what they do. So I'm just going to leave you with that. That the thing is, what encourages you to move on is that you can't help if you're in that situation. You can't help it. You can't fix it, but you have the right. You have the right under the government of the larger picture, God's picture, to say, go forward. They brought you into the world. That's it. You don't owe them your life. This is your life. So go forward, go onward, and go upward. And don't, all due respect, don't repeat the cycle. They will teach you that too. They will teach you to stay within the cycles. And it's broken really easy by separation. Have a good day. Like and subscribe.